Hello everyone. I am Dr. Suman Pawar, working as an assistant professor in Department of Zoology at Dada Patil Mahavidyalaya, Karjat, District Ahmednagar. Friends, this presentation is for educational purpose only. No copyright infringement. This copyright belongs to its rightful owner, and the credit goes to the respective image and the content providers. Today, we are going to discuss the circulatory system of Calotes versicolor. First of all, let us see what is circulation. The circulation is the continuous movement of blood through the heart and the blood vessels. And this continuous movement of blood is maintained mostly by the action of the heart, and by which the nutrients, oxygen, and the internal secretions of the body, like several enzymes as well as the hormones and other secretions, they are carried to the body organs, whereas the metabolic wastes which are produced at the tissue level, they are collected and carried from different body organs. Thus, the blood or the fluid connective tissue performs the important function of transportation of various substances within the body of the animal. The circulatory system generally have three main features. The first feature, fluid or the blood or hemolymph transports the materials. It is the system formed of different blood vessels like arteries and the veins. The pumping organ associated with this system is the heart, which pumps the blood through the blood vessels. The circulatory system is of two types. The first type is open type of circulatory system, in which the fluid or the blood is circulated through an open body chamber. And the second type is the closed type of circulatory system, in which the blood or the body fluid is circulated through closed blood vessels like arteries and the veins. Let us see the circulatory system in Calotes versicolor. The circulatory system in Calotes versicolor is composed of blood, heart, and the blood vessels like arteries, which togetherly form the arterial system, the veins, which togetherly form the venous system, and their capillaries, and hence it is considered as the blood vascular system. The blood of Calotes is red in color and contains yellowish plasma and the blood cells or the blood corpuscles. The RBCs or the red blood corpuscles are oval in shape, and they are provided with well-developed nucleus, hence considered as nucleated. Whereas the white blood corpuscles or the WBCs are amoeboid, that is irregular in shape, and they are provided with a spherical nucleus. The heart of Calotes versicolor is reddish, broadly conical muscular organ which looks rather longer than broader, and it is situated mid-ventrally in the thoracic region. The heart is enclosed in a double-layered, thin, transparent pericardial membrane or pericardium. The outer layer of the pericardium is called parietal pericardium, whereas the inner layer of the pericardium is considered as the visceral pericardium. And the space between these two layers is called pericardial space, which is filled with a specialized fluid called pericardial fluid, which mainly protects the heart from mechanical shocks. keeps the heart moist and thus allows the free movement of the heart during its continuous contraction and relaxation. The pericardium thus protects the heart from mechanical injury. At the apex, a fibrous strand is attached to the pericardium called gubernaculum cordis, which is mainly for attachment of the testes. The heart of Calotes consists of the main collecting chamber in the form of sinus venosus, which is also called the accessory chamber. Two auricles, namely the left auricle and the right auricle. One ventricle, and it shows absence of truncus arteriosus or the distributing chamber. This is the dorsal view. This is the left auricle, which is rather smaller in size compared with the size of the right auricle. This is the right auricle. Here is the right precaval vein, which joins with the postcaval, and thus it forms the sinus venosus, which is shifted over the right auricle, and the left precaval shows a constriction through which it drains its content into the sinus venosus. Here is the interauricular septum, which separates the left and the right auricle, whereas here is the coronary sulcus. This transverse fissure which separates the auricular region from the ventricular region. This triangular and rather oval is the ventricle, which at its posterior end provided with this thready strand, that is gubernaculum cordis. Here is the ventral view. From this anterior lateral position of the ventricle, there arises three aortic arches independently, as there is absence of the distributing chamber, which we called truncus arteriosus. These three arches are namely the pulmonary arch, the right systemic arch, and the left systemic arch. The internal structure of the heart shows. Here is the right auricle, here is the left auricle, here is the interauricular septum, which separates these two auricles from each other. The right auricle shows a large opening in the form of sinoauricular aperture, through which the sinus venosus opens into this right auricle and carries deoxygenated blood collected through three caval veins. Simultaneously, this is the left auricle, which also shows a small aperture, that is the opening of common pulmonary vein, through which the oxygenated blood is discharged into this left auricle. Here is the auriculoventricular aperture, through which both these auricles they opens into the ventricle. Here is the ventricular cavity, which internally shows several muscular folds. Of these folds, one extends deeply into the ventricular space. Thus, it divides the ventricular cavity or the ventricular lumen into two chambers. This is the left chamber and here is the right chamber. This right chamber is also called cavum pulmonale, whereas the left chamber is called as cavum dorsale. As the cavum dorsale, this cavum dorsale is closely associated with the left auricle. It contains or it receives the oxygenated blood from the left auricle, whereas the cavum pulmonale receives the deoxygenated blood from the right auricle. The sinus venosus. The sinus venosus is a thin-walled chamber present on the dorsal side of the heart. The right precaval vein and the postcaval vein joins to form this triangular structure which we call sinus venosus, which is the main collecting chamber. The sinus venosus receives deoxygenated blood through three caval veins, that is the right and the left precaval veins, which collects blood from anterior region of the body of calotis, whereas one postcaval vein which collects the deoxygenated blood from the entire trunk region. The sinus venosus is much reduced and represented at the area of union between the precavals and the postcaval veins. The left precaval vein runs across the left auricle and joins the sinus venosus to drain its content. The point of junction of the caval veins is shown by a well-developed constriction between them. The sinus venosus, after collection of the blood, opens into the right auricle through a large semicircular sino-auricular aperture, which is provided with a pair of thin, transversely elongated ribbon-like valves, which are called sino-auricular valves, to prevent the backflow of venous blood. That is, the blood should not enter backwardly into the sinus venosus. The auricles. A pair of broad sac-like auricles placed anteriorly and transversely. Both the auricles are not of equal size, as the right auricle is larger than the left auricle. The transverse auriculoventricular septum is the coronary sulcus which separates the auricular portion from the ventricular area. The auricles are thin-walled muscular chambers separated from each other by a muscular vertical interauricular septum. The right auricle is larger and darker and has a larger transverse sino-auricular aperture to receive blood from the sinus venosus. This aperture is guarded by two lip-like sino-auricular valves. The small left auricle has a small opening of the common pulmonary vein, which brings oxygenated blood from the lungs through the common pulmonary vein. This opening of common pulmonary vein is without any valve. The auricles open into the ventricle through auriculoventricular aperture, which is guarded by the auriculoventricular valves. The auricular blood, that is the blood from both the auricles, passes into separate chambers of the ventricle. The ventricle. Only one ventricle is present in calotis, and it forms the posterior half of the heart of calotis. The ventricle is highly muscular, thick-walled and spongy structure, rather triangular in shape and provided with a broad anterior base and a narrow posterior apex. Its inner surface shows muscular ridges called the columnae corneae, and the depression in between two adjacent ridges are called the fissures, which reduces the ventricular cavity. Its lumen or cavity is partially divided into right and the left chambers by an incomplete muscular septum called interventricular septum, and that's why due to this interventricular septum the ventricle looks partially divided. Thus, the ventricular cavity shows the two chambers or areas. The first chamber, that is the cavum dorsale, which is the left chamber, and the other one, that is the cavum pulmonale, which is the right chamber. The bunches of thread-like muscle fibers are the chordae tendineae, which are associated with the auriculoventricular valves and remains attached with the columnae corneae, thus responsible for opening and closing of these valves. There arises three aortic arches from the anterolateral position of the ventricle in calotis. These arches arise independently, as there is absence of truncus arteriosus in calotis. The pulmonary arch begins from the dorsal part of the right chamber of the ventricle, that is, it arises from cavum pulmonale, whereas the right systemic arch starts from the left chamber or from the cavum dorsale, whereas the other systemic arch, that is the left systemic arch, also arises from the right chamber of the ventricle. Here is the three aortic arches. See, this is the right systemic arch. The middle one, it is the pulmonary arch, and this is the left systemic arch. Now, the mechanism of blood circulation. The sinus venosus receives the deoxygenated blood from the entire body except the lungs through the three caval veins, that is, the two precaval veins and one postcaval vein. When the sinus venosus is full of blood, it contracts and drives its deoxygenated blood into the right auricle through the sino-auricular aperture. Simultaneously, the left auricle receives oxygenated blood from the lungs, and this blood is carried by the common pulmonary vein. When both the auricles contract, they forces the blood into the ventricle. During the auricular contraction, the backflow of blood from the sinus venosus is prevented by the sino-auricular valves. Now, the ventricle contracts and thus sends the deoxygenated blood into the pulmonary arch and the left systemic arch, as both these arches, they are associated with the chamber named cavum pulmonale, whereas the oxygenated blood forced into the right systemic arch, as it is associated with the cavum dorsale. The auriculoventricular valves prevent the backflow of blood from ventricle into the auricles, and the semilunar valves, which are present at the base of all three aortic arches, prevents the backflow of blood, that is, the blood should not enter from aortic arches into the ventricle back. The pulmonary arch further gives off two pulmonary arteries carrying the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for mixing with oxygen, whereas the right systemic arch provides oxygenated blood to the head, while by joining together with the left systemic arch, both these arches, they supplies mixed blood to the body in the trunk region or to the body organs located in the trunk region by forming the dorsal aorta. Thus, the heart of calotis shows judicious distribution of blood, though The ventricle in calotes is morphologically and incompletely divided. It shows tendency for the physiological separation of two types of blood receiving from two auricles. That is, from the left auricle, the oxygenated blood enters into the left chamber, that is cavum in the cavum dorsale, whereas from the right auricle, the deoxygenated blood enters into the right chamber, which we called cavum pulmonale, from where it enters into the pulmonary aorta and from pulmonary arch, and from the pulmonary arch it goes to the lungs for its aeration. And from this point only, the heart of calotes is biologically more advanced than the amphibian heart. Thus, in today's session, we have discussed about the circulation, its definition, its type, the structure of heart in calotes, and the working of its heart and mechanism of circulation of blood through different heart chambers in calotes versicolor. Friends, in case you have any doubt about the content of this video or you have any question about the topic covered through this video, kindly email me on the given mail ID. Thank you. Thank you for your patient listening. Once again, this presentation is for educational purpose only, no copyright infringement, and this copyright belongs to its rightful owner. Credit goes to the respective image and content providers. For more videos, kindly visit our institute's YouTube channel, Rayat Knowledge Bank. Thank you.